AITA for establishing boundaries with my aunt at a cherished family gathering? I need to preface this by expressing my boundless affection for my baby cousin Lily. She's not merely family to me. She's a radiant beam of sunshine in my life, more like the precious little sister I never had than a distant relative. From the moment she first opened her eyes to this world, we've shared an inexplicable, almost magical connection that defies explanation. Being the eldest cousin in our vibrant, bustling family, with a 20-year age gap between us, perhaps it was destiny that drew us together. Or maybe it's simply her enchanting, affectionate nature that captured my heart so completely. Lily is the kind of child who transforms any space she enters into a wonderland of joy and possibility. Her wild curls bounce with every step, those enormous doe eyes sparkle with curiosity, and her infectious giggle has the extraordinary power to melt even the most hardened hearts. Her presence alone can turn the dreariest day into an adventure. So please understand, my love for this precious little soul runs deeper than words can express. However, this particular gathering, my younger brother's birthday celebration at our parents' home, was destined to unfold differently than I'd imagined. After an exhausting year of career demands and personal challenges, I'd been yearning for this moment of respite, dreaming of losing myself in heartfelt conversations with my age-matched cousins over plates of mouth-watering delicacies. But when you're Lily's favorite person in the world, nothing ever goes quite according to plan. Being the youngest by a considerable margin, she lacks playmates her own age at these gatherings. So naturally, the moment I crossed the threshold, she launched herself at me like a tiny missile of pure joy, her voice ringing through the house as she shouted my name with the enthusiasm usually reserved for superheroes and ice cream trucks. My heart melted instantly, and I couldn't resist scooping her up into a bear hug that sent her into fits of delighted giggles. The first hour was pure magic. I found myself swept away in Lily's enchanting world of make-believe, where I played the role of a distressed princess trapped in an imaginary tower while she, my valiant knight in sparkly sneakers, plotted my daring rescue. For those precious moments, spreadsheets and deadlines ceased to exist, replaced by dragons and magical spells. But as the evening progressed, the tantalizing aromas of our family feast, fragrant biryani, crispy samosas, and succulent kebabs began to weave their way through the air, making my stomach protest loudly. I gently explained to Lily that I needed a brief intermission to satisfy my growing hunger, but she wasn't having any of it. Those enormous eyes welled up with tears, her tiny hand clutching mine with surprising strength as she pleaded for me to stay. Those puppy dog eyes of hers should be classified as lethal weapons. They're absolutely impossible to resist. In a moment of compromise that would later prove fateful, I settled her beside me with a plate of her own, knowing full well that Lily's notorious pickiness meant she would only accept food from 3 people in the entire world: her mother, my mother, or me. So there I sat, simultaneously playing airplane with spoonfuls of rice while she regaled me with elaborate tales about her invisible friends. The scene was undeniably adorable, but by the time she finished her meal, my own stomach was staging a full-scale rebellion. Seizing what I thought was a perfect opportunity, I carefully transferred Lily to my grandmother's loving care nearby. Surely, I reasoned, she would be content there, perhaps drifting off into a peaceful nap or exploring the garden's wonders. Finally able to focus on my own needs, I loaded a plate with the feast I'd been eyeing all evening and found a spot where I could at last join in the animated discussions swirling around me. For a brief, blissful moment, everything seemed perfectly balanced. But the universe, it seems, had other plans. The serenity shattered with the sound of impending disaster, a thunderous crash that seemed to freeze time itself. The room plunged into an eerie silence, broken only by the haunting echo of shattering glass and porcelain. My heart stopped mid-beat as I whirled toward the dining area, already knowing in my bones what I would find. The scene that greeted me was apocalyptic in its scope. The pristine tablecloth had been transformed into a treacherous avalanche, dragging with it a cascade of destruction that would have made chaos herself proud. Crystal glasses lay in glittering shards across the floor, their contents creating abstract paintings on the tiles. Plates of carefully prepared delicacies had become a tragic mosaic of broken dreams and wasted effort. And the crowning glory of our feast, an exquisite trifle that had been layered with the precision of a master artist, now painted the imported Persian rug with sticky rivers of cream and fruit. At the epicenter of this domestic disaster stood Lily, a tiny statue frozen in horror. Her eyes, wide as saucers, reflected the devastation before her, and I could see the exact moment when the reality of what had happened crashed over her like a tidal wave. Her face crumpled, those cherubic features contorting with distress as the first sob tore from her throat. The sound was heart-wrenching, a keening wail that seemed to emanate from her very soul, her small body trembling like a leaf in a storm. Guilt slammed into me with the force of a freight train. If only I'd stayed with her, if only I hadn't assumed she'd be content with Grandma, if only. The weight of those, if only threatened to crush me as I navigated through the stunned spectators who had gathered like moths to a flame, drawn by the spectacular destruction. My Aunt Lily's mother was already on the scene, her presence crackling with barely contained fury. She crouched among the wreckage, attempting to salvage what she could while simultaneously unleashing a torrent of sharp words that cut through the air like knives. What were you thinking, Lily? Look at this catastrophe. Do you have any idea how much effort went into preparing all of this? Each word seemed to raise the volume and intensity of her tirade, and with each syllable, Lily's sobs grew more desperate, her tiny shoulders heaving with the force of her distress. The atmosphere was suffocating. Our relatives had formed a circle of judgment, their whispered commentary and disapproving clicks of tongues creating a soundtrack of condemnation. A few good souls attempted to help with the cleanup, but most seemed content to watch the drama unfold like some tragic theater production. I stood rooted to the spot, caught in a maelstrom of emotions, guilt, concern, and an overwhelming urge to shield Lily from the crushing weight of public humiliation. When I finally managed to move, approaching with cautious steps, my aunt's head snapped up like a cobra preparing to strike. The moment our eyes met, I knew I was about to become the target of her displaced rage. The look she gave me could have frozen hell itself, and when she spoke, her voice dripped with venom. "Why weren't you watching her?" she hissed, each word precisely aimed to inflict maximum damage. The accusation hung in the air like poison gas. "You know she follows you everywhere. You should have been keeping an eye on her." Her finger jabbed the air between us like a weapon, emphasizing each point with military precision. The unfairness of it all hit me like a physical blow. I felt my face flush as the weight of everyone's attention shifted to me, their silence heavy with expectation and judgment. For a moment, I was speechless, my mind reeling from the sheer audacity of being blamed for something that was clearly not my responsibility. Finding my voice at last, I struggled to keep my tone level, though I could feel my words trembling with barely contained emotion. "I apologize for what happened," I began, my voice quiet but firm. "But Lily is not my responsibility. I've spent the entire evening entertaining her, but I thought it was reasonable to take a break to eat. She's your daughter, not mine." The words hung in the air like thunder before the storm. My aunt's face transformed, flushing a dangerous shade of crimson, and for a moment I thought she might explode. Instead, she turned on her heel and stormed away, leaving behind a wake of tension, so thick you could cut it with a knife. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by Lily's quieting sniffles and the soft clink of glass being swept up. The aftermath has been nothing short of a diplomatic crisis of epic proportions. Our family's group chats have erupted into a battlefield of passive-aggressive warfare, with messages about respect and family values flying like arrows. The younger generation's supposed lack of responsibility has become the hot topic of every conversation, as if my decision to eat dinner had somehow signaled the downfall of modern society. My phone has become a constant reminder of the drama, buzzing incessantly with notifications as relatives take sides in this domestic Cold War. Even my usually supportive mother has been caught in the crossfire, fielding calls from concerned family members who speak of my shocking disrespect in hushed, scandalized tones. She gently suggested that perhaps I could have handled the situation with more diplomacy, though I could see the conflict in her eyes as she said it. Now, in the quiet moments when I'm alone with my thoughts, I find myself replaying the scene over and over, examining it from every angle like a detective at a crime scene. Was I wrong to stand my ground? Should I have swallowed my pride and accepted blame for the sake of family harmony? The questions swirl in my mind like autumn leaves in a storm, never quite settling. My love for Lily remains unchanged. If anything, it's grown stronger through this ordeal. I would move mountains for that child, but I can't help feeling that accepting blame for every mishap would set a dangerous precedent. Where do we draw the line between being supportive and enabling unrealistic expectations? The incident has exposed fault lines in our family dynamic that I never knew existed, bringing to light questions about responsibility, boundaries, and the complex web of expectations that binds us together. As I navigate this emotional minefield, I find myself wondering, was I the villain in this story for daring to establish boundaries, or was I justified in standing my ground? In the end, perhaps there are no clear villains or heroes in family dramas like these, just people trying their best to balance love, responsibility, and self-respect in an imperfect world. But as the dust settles and tempers cool, one thing remains crystal clear: my commitment to being there for Lily while maintaining healthy boundaries for myself. Update. The dust has finally begun to settle on our family drama, and I wanted to share how everything has unfolded since my original post. First, I must express my heartfelt gratitude for the overwhelming support and wisdom I received from all of you. Your words helped anchor me during what felt like an emotional hurricane. What I initially thought would be a temporary storm has evolved into something far more complex and revealing about our family dynamics. My aunt, rather than allowing the situation to cool, chose to escalate it to theatrical proportions that would make Shakespeare proud. The voicemails she left on my mother's phone became increasingly dramatic, each one a masterpiece of martyrdom that would have earned her an Oscar nomination if family drama was a category. I had the misfortune of listening to one of these performances, and I must admit, it was simultaneously fascinating and horrifying. She wove an elaborate tapestry of grievances, painting herself as the victim of my alleged disrespect, while simultaneously suggesting that my mother's constant defense of me had transformed me into an entitled monster. The irony of her behavior was not lost on me. It was like watching someone set fire to a bridge while complaining about the lack of crossing points. But the family group chat. Oh, the family group chat. It transformed from a wholesome space for sharing holiday photos and coordinating gatherings into a battlefield of passive-aggressive warfare. My aunt wielded her messages like precisely aimed arrows, each one dripping with subtext. Some people in this family really need to learn their place. And respect is such a basic thing, I don't know why it's so hard for some people to show it. It was exhausting to witness, yet somehow darkly entertaining in its absurdity. The situation reached its boiling point last Sunday when my mother, my incredible, fierce, no-nonsense mother, decided she'd had enough of the theatrics. In a move that will go down in family legend, she marched straight to my aunt's house for what can only be described as an epic confrontation. According to my cousin Carl, our family's resident gossip correspondent, it was the kind of showdown that would have made Western movies proud. My mother, never one to sugarcoat things, laid bare years of festering issues. She didn't just address the chaos from my brother's birthday party. She unpacked decades of family dynamics with surgical precision. She pointed out how my aunt's helicopter parenting was suffocating Lily, how her tendency to deflect responsibility onto others was damaging relationships, and how her husband's conspicuous absence from parenting duties had created a pressure cooker of resentment. The revelations that emerged from this confrontation were eye-opening. It turns out my aunt has been locked in similar conflicts with practically everyone in the family. She's become something of a professional grudge collector, preserving past grievances like precious artifacts in a museum of discontent. Carl told me it's become a running joke among the cousins to place bets on who will be the target of her next dramatic episode. But the most heartbreaking revelation concerned Lily's early years. Those first few months of her life were marked by serious health scares that left my aunt perpetually on edge. While her protective instincts come from a place of love, they've morphed into something almost suffocating. Lily barely gets to experience normal childhood activities. No playdates outside the family, limited preschool attendance, and constant supervision that borders on surveillance. This knowledge has given me a new perspective on why Lily clings to me so desperately during our time together. In our house, she gets to be just a child running, playing, and exploring without feeling like she's under a microscope. It's a bittersweet realization that makes me both grateful for our special bond and concerned about her future development. Taking a break from the family drama, my brother and I escaped to the beach for a day of much-needed decompression. We spent hours building sandcastles and eating ice cream, just like we did as kids. It was therapeutic, reminding me that sometimes the best way to handle family chaos is to step back and remember the simple joys in life. Before heading back to my city, I was blessed with one final visit from Lily, orchestrated by my grandmother, who apparently had to move mountains to make it happen. Those precious last moments with her were a powerful reminder of what truly matters. We played, laughed, and shared countless hugs and kisses. When it was time to say goodbye, neither of us wanted to let go. Carl, ever the comedian, called me later with his signature wit. "Breaking out of the prison, are we? Right behind you, sis." His ability to find humor in the situation has been a saving grace, helping me maintain perspective when everything felt overwhelming. As for my aunt, she continues her attempts to stir the pot, but her power to create chaos has diminished significantly. Once the truth about her pattern of behavior came to light, family members began to see through the drama. Her accusations about my neglect of Lily now fall on increasingly deaf ears, as everyone knows the depth of my devotion to that precious child. The family drama has largely subsided, and I've made peace with my decision not to apologize. Initially, I considered it for the sake of harmony, but my aunt's behavior has only confirmed that standing my ground was the right choice. Sometimes, maintaining healthy boundaries is more important than keeping the peace at any cost. My mother, my rock through all of this, continues to be an inspiration. Her direct approach to handling conflict, while sometimes uncomfortable, has shown me the value of addressing issues head-on rather than letting them fester beneath a veneer of politeness. Now back in my city and immersed in work, I feel a sense of peace about how everything unfolded. The support from most of my family members has been overwhelming, and I'm moving forward with a clear conscience. This experience has taught me valuable lessons about family dynamics, setting boundaries, and the importance of standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult. Most importantly, my relationship with Lily remains pure and untainted by all the adult drama. She's still my little ray of sunshine, and I'm committed to being her safe harbor while maintaining the healthy boundaries that will ultimately benefit us both. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do for the people we care about is to be honest about what we can and cannot give. The aftermath of this incident continued to ripple through our family like waves in a pond. My aunt's crusade of righteousness showed no signs of abating. If anything, it intensified with each passing day. The family group chat, once a peaceful haven for sharing celebration photos and coordinating gatherings, transformed into her personal theater of war. Her messages became increasingly pointed, each one a carefully crafted missile of guilt and accusation. Some people, she would write, her words dripping with thinly veiled contempt, seemed to have forgotten the meaning of family responsibility. Or my personal favorite. In my day, we respected our elders and understood our duties to the younger generation. The irony of using a modern messaging platform to complain about kids these days was apparently lost on her. The real entertainment came from watching other family members' reactions. My cousins started responding with nothing but emoji, a practice that drove my aunt to new heights of indignation. Carl, ever the instigator, would reply to her most dramatic pronouncements with nothing but a single popcorn emoji, which never failed to provoke a paragraph-long rant about the deterioration of proper communication. But the true breaking point came during what we now refer to as the Sunday showdown. My mother, who had been watching this digital drama unfold with increasing irritation, finally reached her limit. It wasn't just about the birthday party anymore. It was about years of my aunt's manipulative behavior, her suffocating parenting style, and the way she wielded guilt like a weapon. The confrontation itself was epic in scale. My mother, armed with decades of observations and a lifetime of stored patience, marched into my aunt's territory like a general preparing for battle. Carl, who had positioned himself strategically nearby, purely by coincidence, he claimed, provided me with a blow-by-blow account that read like a script from a prestige drama series. According to him, my mother didn't just address the recent chaos. She performed a systematic dismantling of my aunt's entire approach to family relationships. She pointed out how my aunt's helicopter parenting was stunting Lily's social development, how her habit of turning every minor incident into a family crisis was exhausting everyone, and how her husband's convenient absences during these dramas spoke volumes about their own family dynamic. The revelations that emerged from this confrontation were staggering. It turned out my aunt had been involved in similar conflicts with practically every family member at some point. She kept a mental catalog of grievances that stretched back decades, each one preserved with museum-quality precision. Carl joked that she could probably tell you exactly what someone wore while slighting her at a family picnic 15 years ago. But beneath all the drama lay a deeper, more poignant story. During those first precious months of Lily's life, there had been serious health complications, moments when the future seemed uncertain and fragile. Those terrifying experiences had left deep scars on my aunt's psyche, transforming her natural maternal protectiveness into something more akin to paranoia. This revelation cast her behavior in a new light. Her excessive control, her constant fear, her inability to let Lily experience life's normal risks. It all stemmed from those early moments of helplessness. Understanding this didn't excuse her actions, but it helped explain the depth of her reactions and the intensity of her fear. The aftermath of my mother's intervention was both immediate and far-reaching. The family group chat fell silent for the first time in weeks, as if everyone needed a moment to process the seismic shift in our family's emotional landscape. When messages began trickling in again, they were different, more measured, more thoughtful, more aware of the complex dynamics at play. My aunt's influence over family opinion began to wane as others started sharing their own experiences with her dramatic tendencies. Stories emerged of similar confrontations, of holidays ruined by perceived slights, of relationships strained by unrealistic expectations. It became clear that what had happened at the birthday party was just the latest episode in a long-running family drama. In the midst of all this, I found myself needing an escape. My brother, sensing my emotional exhaustion, suggested a day trip to the beach. We spent hours building elaborate sandcastles, complete with moats and bridges, just like we did as children. There was something therapeutic about watching the waves erase our creations, reminding us that sometimes the best response to chaos is to let it wash away. Before leaving town, I had one final visit with Lily, arranged by my grandmother, who had to employ all her diplomatic skills to make it happen. Those precious moments were untouched by the adult drama swirling around us. We played games, shared secrets, and when it was time to say goodbye, our hugs lasted a little longer than usual. Carl's call came later that evening, his humor providing the perfect counterpoint to the emotional intensity of the day. Breaking out of the prison, are we? Right behind you, sis, he quipped, before launching into a detailed analysis of the family drama that somehow managed to be both insightful and hilarious. Looking back now, from the relative peace of my own city, I can see how this crisis forced our family to confront long-ignored issues. My aunt still occasionally attempts to stir up drama, but her power to create chaos has diminished significantly. The family has developed a kind of immunity to her theatrical tendencies, responding to her provocations with calm detachment rather than emotional engagement. The experience has taught me valuable lessons about family dynamics, the importance of boundaries, and the courage it takes to maintain them. It's shown me that sometimes the most loving thing we can do for others is to be honest about our limits, even when that honesty comes at a cost. Most importantly, it's reinforced my commitment to being there for Lily in a way that's both loving and sustainable. She remains my precious ray of sunshine, and I'm determined to help her grow into a strong, confident person who understands that love doesn't have to mean constant availability, and that healthy boundaries are a form of respect, both for ourselves and for others. In the end, this story isn't just about a family party gone wrong or a clash of personalities. It's about the complex dance we all perform as we try to balance love with independence, support with boundaries, and family obligations with personal well-being. There may not be any perfect solutions, but perhaps that's the point. We're all just doing our best to navigate these choppy waters with whatever wisdom and grace we can muster. The ripples of this incident continue to affect our family dynamics in subtle ways. My aunt's journey from the center of family drama to a more peripheral role has been fascinating to watch. The woman who once commanded attention through chaos now finds herself increasingly isolated, not through any deliberate exclusion, but through the family's collective growth in handling conflict. The family group chat has evolved into something of a case study in communication dynamics. Where once my aunt's provocative messages would spark immediate chaos, now they're met with what Carl calls strategic indifference. He's even created a bingo card for her most predictable responses. In my day, take center square, while some people just don't understand family values, and I guess I'm just old-fashioned fight for corner positions. What's particularly interesting is how this situation has sparked conversations about parenting styles across generations. My older cousins, some with children of their own now, have begun sharing their struggles with finding the right balance between protection and freedom. These discussions have revealed that my aunt's extreme protective instincts weren't born in a vacuum. They're rooted in our family's complex history of immigration, loss, and survival. Through whispered conversations and shared memories, I've learned more about my aunt's own childhood. She grew up in a time of significant hardship, where the loss of a child to illness or accident was a common tragedy in our community. Her own mother, my grandmother, lost 2 children before my aunt was born, a fact that shaped both their relationship and my aunt's approach to motherhood. Understanding this generational trauma doesn't excuse her behavior, but it adds layers of complexity to our family's story. The most profound changes have been in Lily's daily life. My mother's intervention sparked a family-wide conversation about the importance of allowing children to develop resilience through age-appropriate challenges. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, Lily's world has begun to expand. She's been allowed to join a local dance class, where she's making friends her own age. My aunt still hovers anxiously at the studio window, but the fact that she's allowing this independence at all is remarkable progress. My last day in town brought an unexpected moment of connection. As I was packing my car, my aunt appeared in the driveway, Lily's small hand clasped in hers. The tension was still there, but something had shifted. Without speaking, she released Lily's hand, allowing her to run to me for one final hug. As I held my precious cousin close, I caught my aunt's eye. For a brief moment, I saw past the drama and defensiveness to the scared mother beneath, desperately trying to protect her child in the only way she knew how. That evening, as I began the long drive home, my phone buzzed with a new message in the family group chat. It was from my aunt, not another complaint or accusation, but a photo of Lily at her dance class, beaming in her tiny tutu. The caption read simply, "Sometimes love means letting go a little." The responses flooded in immediately. Heart emojis from the cousins, supportive messages from the aunts and uncles, and Carl's signature popcorn emoji, this time accompanied by a simple red heart. Looking back now, I realize that this crisis, painful as it was, has led to genuine growth and healing in our family. We're learning to navigate the delicate balance between maintaining boundaries and showing love, between honoring our past and embracing change. Lily is flourishing in her gradually expanding world. My aunt is slowly learning to loosen her grip, and our family has developed new tools for handling conflict. As for me, I found a deeper understanding of what it means to be part of a family, not just the joy and love, but the messy, complicated work of growing together through conflict and change. My relationship with Lily continues to be one of my life's greatest blessings, made stronger now by clear boundaries and honest communication. In the end, perhaps that's what family is all about, not perfect harmony or unwavering agreement, but the willingness to weather storms together, to learn from our conflicts, and to keep choosing love even when it's complicated. As I settle back into my life in the city, I carry with me not just the lessons learned from this experience, but a renewed appreciation for the beautiful, messy, imperfect tapestry that is family life.